Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson here again, Inside Arkansas on the pod at the Palace, coming to you to talk Tennessee today. Yeah, the game is tomorrow. It's Friday morning, but it's a nooner on Saturday, right? So we want to give time for this thing to marinate a little bit. Don't worry, we'll be back Saturday morning with some quick hits, some SEC pick'ems, some stuff from Rick Barnes. It'll be good, but we wanted to get into the weeds with the preview here today. Man, what an opportunity for Arkansas, Saturday, noon, number one undefeated Tennessee in Knoxville on ESPN. Let's go. I mean, right out of the gates with as good of a game as you could ask for. Very rarely do I feel like playing a number one on the road is overly winnable. Like, you always have a chance, especially with the teams that Arkansas has had the past few years, the talent that they've had. But it's tough to go on the road and beat number one. I really do feel like Arkansas has a realistic chance to get this done. I think it's going to be a good game. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Tennessee's really good. Really, really good. I'm not sure, though, that they're the best team in the country. They've got some vulnerabilities in there, and they're due. That's the one thing about playing an undefeated team at this point in the year. They're due to get beat by somebody. I don't know if Arkansas doing it in their home arena is going to be the one, but they're going to get got here at some point. Can Arkansas make the plays? Can Arkansas take advantage of certain areas of the game and get this one done? We'll see. I can't wait to find out. Let's throw out some fun facts here real quick before we really get into the weeds of the game itself. Shout out to Blake Lovell, by the way, for this. The top 16 remaining strengths of schedule in the entire country, according to ESPN FPI, are the 16 SEC schools. Yes, the league is that good. Fun. Can't wait. Should be awesome. Arkansas is number 12 out of those. The main reason why is because they don't have to play teams like Tennessee or Auburn or Alabama twice this season. In fact, John was the one who pointed out to me of the 10 teams in the AP top 25, obviously 9 outside of Arkansas. The Hogs don't play any of them twice. Okay, that works for me. So who are their opponents this year that they play twice? It's Texas, who is good, but not in the top 25 right now. Missouri, and then LSU. So there you have it. This thing with playing number one, Arkansas is 3-11 all time against AP number one teams. They won 2 straight though. Recently here, Auburn, everybody remembers that game, the court storm, and then Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament. They were number one in the AP poll. They were the top overall seed when Arkansas popped them there. The only other one was the Michael Jordan game, UNC, Pine Bluff, back in the day. You guys remember that? So they've never technically done it on the road, 0-2 in those opportunities. So I don't know. Get over the hump, right? They've never done it on the road, 0-2 there. They've lost 3 straight to Tennessee. Overall, Arkansas has. They're only 4-16 all time at Thompson-Boling Arena. Haven't won there since 2016-17. But this is a kind of a heavyweight matchup between coaches. Couple legends, and Rick Barnes and John Calipari go way back. They're good friends, but they've gone head to head 25 times. Rick Barnes has a slight edge. He's 13-12 against Cal, but Cal won in Knoxville at the end of the regular season last year. So there's that. Tennessee's one of 4 undefeated teams left in the country. They're tied for the most wins in the country with Florida. Actually, I say one of 4. Drake lost the other day, so there's only 3. And they're all in the SEC, right? Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma. Great. Now the matchup itself, let's dive into it a little bit here. Tennessee's pretty good. They're pretty good. A top 20 offense in adjusted efficiency, and the number 2 ranked defense. Now they played a pretty good schedule, but it's not a brutal schedule. Like, they haven't gone through the gauntlet that, like Alabama puts together. Purdue's played just a brutal schedule. They haven't done that. They played some good games. I remember they beat the brakes off of Baylor, but that was right after Baylor had that crazy, was it a double overtime game against St. John's? They just clearly didn't have anything left in the tank. But Tennessee got it done in that one. They beat Miami in Madison Square Garden right before Arkansas played Michigan. I remember sitting there watching that one. They looked the part outside of a stretch of about 6 or 8 minutes there where Miami made it pretty interesting in the second half, not going to lie. They did beat Illinois, who beat Arkansas. They did that on a buzzer beater, really tight game. They beat Louisville early in the season. They beat a bad Virginia team. So they've been tested in a couple games, have played a decent amount of high majors, some of them not so good. Okay. The Illinois game, though, is the only game that Tennessee hasn't won by double figures. So they've been taking care of business, but they have shown some vulnerability here lately. I feel like right before Christmas, they were trailing Middle Tennessee midway through the second half. They flipped the switch. I think they wound up winning that game by 18 or so, but they were getting pushed on their home floor there deep into the game against a mid-major team. It happens to everybody. It's not just Arkansas. On New Year's Eve the other day, it was just kind of a ho-hum win, not overly impressive against Norfolk State. Never really pulled away in that when they won it by 15, a little bit of a snoozer. You know, Arkansas has 9 guys that they can play, we hope, right? Tennessee, though, is kind of in the same spot. They went into the year with just 11 scholarship players. The big man, Estrella, one of their emerging players, he's out for the year with an injury. They had another scholarship guy who just up and quit. They've got another one who's been injured that's going to get back. I don't think he's back yet. So, they've been playing with 8 to 9 guys themselves. So in terms of depth and the war of attrition here, it's pretty evenly matched between these two teams. If you go to Tennessee's KenPom page, you're going to see a lot of green. And green means good, right? In all those statistical areas, you're going to see green. That means they do it at a rate that's among the upper echelon in the country. Now, Arkansas's got a lot of green on their KenPom page too, in fairness. But what really jumps off the page to me about Tennessee, a couple things. One, how about them being the top-ranked three-point defense in the country, combined then with having a top 5 block percentage nationally? Those are two pretty good things to be able to hang your hat on the defensive end of the floor, right? When you guard the arc and you protect the rim at an elite level, that's a pretty good recipe to have an elite defense, which Tennessee, they always have. Under Rick Barnes, that's kind of their identity: defense, rebounding, physicality. There you go. But you guard the three-point line, you protect the rim. It makes me wonder about Arkansas's in-between game in this one. We know Boogie can really knock down that mid-jumper. It used to be the deepest part of John L. Davis's bag, but he doesn't have that working for him anymore. But hopefully he'll start taking some of those shots. Arkansas has some guys who can take and make that mid-range jumper. They might have to knock down a couple of those in this game, soften things up a little bit. We'll see. Offensively, we're talking about a team that finishes really well around the basket, and that's no surprise. That makes sense because we know that Tennessee's always just physically strong. Even their guards, they're jacked, they're powerful, they can finish through some contact in there. It also helps that they have a point guard in Zakai Ziegler who can really he's not just a playmaker, he's not just a great passer, he can pass guys open. Okay, and that's a rare trait in college basketball, but he can do that, and it leads to some open looks. Tweeted out earlier today, but Arkansas and Tennessee will both come into this game among the leaders in the country with 69 dunks apiece. Nice. That's a lot. So there should be some above the rim play here on the surface, but both these teams protect the rim so well that I just think there might be some highlight plays at the rim. Somebody's getting dunked on in this game. Somebody's getting a dunk blocked in this game. Can't wait for it. Sign me up for that. The other thing about Tennessee, they rebound 38.4% of their misses. That's a lot. Remember when Arkansas said, Kenny Payne, some other guys said, hey, we want to rebound 40% of our misses. That's a lofty number. I mean, that would put you in the top 10 in the country. Arkansas is not there from an offensive rebounding standpoint. Tennessee is close. So they get a lot of second chance opportunities there. Overall, their percentage is solid from 35.5%, but I do think of vulnerability a little bit. You're talking about an undefeated number 1 team in the country, so it's not like they have a bunch of weaknesses, but areas where when they do lose or when they do have an off night, why might that happen? 3-point shooting is one that I've kind of got my eye on with Tennessee. Now, Chaz Lanier, he's the real deal. I mean, it's crazy that they felt like they had to, well, not that they felt like they had to, but they needed to kind of replace the production that Dalton Connect left, which was a lot. And then they go get Lanier from North Florida, and you think about him as a sniper, and he is. I mean, he shot nearly 500 threes over the course of his career and made over 42% of them. That's pretty good. But outside of him, and he's a sniper, he's made 51 on the year. He's shooting like 45%. Gainey is a solid shooter for him that comes off the bench. Beyond those guys, though, they have players who can make threes, but they're rotation regulars. The other ones who actually shoot them, 29%, 28%, 29%, 32%. So, if you can just corral Chaz Lanier and Gainey a little bit, don't let those two combine for 8 or 9 threes between the two of them, you could hold them down a little bit there. You could. A major key in this game for Arkansas, in my opinion, is to come out as close to even as you possibly can in the three-point category. And it's interesting, right? Because Arkansas is third in the SEC in three-point percentage, 36.7%. They're shooting the crap out of it. They really are. But they're 13th in the SEC with only 8.1 makes per game. We know that. They're not a high-volume three-point shooting team. They typically make the ones that they take. Now, the flip side of that, we said it. Tennessee has the number one three-point defense in the country. Opponents are only shooting 24.5% and making 6.6 per game. So can Arkansas get to 7, 8 made threes in this one? We'll see. On the flip side, though, Tennessee is shooting 35.5%, like we said, from three, but they're not making that many more than Arkansas is. Arkansas is making 8.1 per game, and Tennessee's making 8.8. But Arkansas, to its credit defensively, is only allowing opponents to shoot 28.9% from three on 7.2 makes. So they're not that far off. We talk about Arkansas's three-point defense. We all remember the Illinois game. That was really bad. Outside of that, they've been elite, and they're not that far away from the team that's the best in the country. So, in my opinion, if the Razorbacks can keep that stat, in particular, the three-point line, as close to the averages as possible, they're going to be in pretty good shape here. What you can't have is a game where you start getting lost, Lanier and Gainey get off, and then, at the end of the game, you go 6 for 20, but Tennessee is 10 or 11 for 25 or something. You can't have that type of difference there. Because in a lot of cases, I would say, well, if Arkansas is behind on the three-point line, they can make up for it with FTAs and get into the charity stripe. Well, both Arkansas and Tennessee are in the top 25 in the country in terms of fewest fouls per game. They don't put each other, or they don't put opponents on the free throw line that much. And let's be honest here. You're on the road at Tennessee in the SEC. You know how this works. You can't bank on getting to the free throw line because you're not going to get the calls on the road. So they got to hold their own from three, whether that's making a bunch or limiting Tennessee, or what I think will happen, which is a combination of the two. You got to have that there. Really need John L. Davis out there. I was encouraged to hear Kenny Payne saying that he's been back at practice. Good. That he's been working really hard. Good. And said that he's trying to find rhythm, which makes sense because he's been out for a while now. But you got to have him in there. If he can step back in and make a couple for you, that'll be huge. And just his presence as a veteran, right? A senior who's been in big games before. He's played against some of these guys from Tennessee before. You need that for sure, I think, in this game. I also think it'd be a great time for Big Z to make his first couple threes in about a month. Get him back out there. Kenny Payne talked about that too before the game, just the importance of his offense and the different dynamic that he brings, that he's been a little bit sick and under the weather, but that he's feeling better now. Got to get his confidence going, because this is a game that he can play in, and it's a game where Arkansas needs him to provide a little bit of offense, I think, if they're going to be able to pull off this upset. Because here's the thing. Tennessee has really, really good perimeter defenders. You think about Ziegler, Jemai Meshack, really good defender. They've got some guys who can really harass you, run you off the line, but the pick and pop big is just so much harder to defend. You got to soften them up somehow. And I think Big Z could really be a key to that. And so could Trevin in this game. They both could. So we'll see. I also think it's important to really keep the amount of possessions tight in this game. What I mean by that, you're in a crazy road atmosphere against a really, really good defensive team. You got to limit the turnovers. You got to get shots on goal. Musk used to talk about that all the time. We got to get shots on goal. It's true. You have to limit the turnovers, especially the live ball turnovers. And this is a Tennessee team that they force you to take tough shots, but they can also turn you over. Zakai Ziegler Again, one of the better defensive players in the country, can really dictate things on that end of the floor. They've got some guys who come up with a lot of steals. Can't have it. Can't have it in a game like this. Arkansas has not been a great offensive rebounding team. They've been really good, though, at keeping their opponents off of the offensive glass. That needs to hold up. All three of Tennessee's bigs, we're talking Okpara, Milicic, Cade Phillips, they're all getting more than 2 offensive rebounds per game. So limiting your turnovers, limiting their second chance opportunities. If the possessions are close to equal, the shot attempts that go up are close to equal. That's how you stay in a game like this and give yourself a chance to win at the end. Let's talk about some matchups here. To me, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like point guard play might decide the game. Boogie Flan, Zakai Ziegler. I love it. New York Flair, 2 New York guards, exciting players, the top 2 assist men in the SEC. But it's such a contrast of styles between the two, right? The tough, pesky vet against the flashy, swaggy freshman, I can't wait to see it. Can Boogie play efficiently on offense against the SEC Defensive Player of the Year? I think that's what it comes down to. I really do. And yeah, can Boogie find a way to disrupt on the other end? Sure, you absolutely want that. I think we need a showing from Boogie Flan like we got against Kansas and DeJuan Harris, because he's that kind of guard. Zakai can shoot it, or he's just willing to shoot the ball more than DeJuan Harris was. But in terms of being table setters, big time playmakers, the straw that stirs the drink with running the offense, Zakai Ziegler does all that for them. So if Boogie can disrupt that a little bit, that's good. But we know, especially offensively, as Boogie goes, Arkansas goes. And so distributing, racking up the assists, you need all that. But can he limit the turnovers, and can he knock down enough shots to make his mark offensively? Can he get to his average, which is about 16 points per game? Can he knock down a couple threes to soften him up? It's crazy because Boogie's not that big of a guard. He's 6'2", 175 pounds, but he's going to have 4 or 5 inches on Zakai. So he's going to be a pest. He's going to be in his shorts, but can Boogie get enough separation to then elevate? Because if he's able to get separation and elevate, he can shoot right over the top of him. It's easier said than done against a guard like that, but that is going to be a fascinating matchup. If Boogie can hold his own in this one, he can hold his own against anybody in the SEC, anybody in the country. I think he's that good. But again, first SEC game on the road in that environment, big time opportunity for him under the spotlight. Jonas Adu and Felix Okpara, the 2 centers. I think this is a must-win matchup for Arkansas. I think that Jonas Adu is better than the guy who replaced him. Now, Okpara is a different player. He's a great rim protector for him, a great offensive rebounder for him. He dunks a lot of basketballs, but he's the trash man offensive. He's not as skilled as Jonas is. Okpara is averaging 6.8 points, 6 rebounds per game, I think it is, and a couple blocks. So he definitely makes his impact in there. But Jonas is the more complete, well-rounded player. I really liked what KP said about Jonas going into this game of how's he going to be able to control his emotions, going back to Tennessee, playing against his former coach, his former teammates, the fan base that used to cheer for him is going to be booing him. How does he handle that? And I thought he had a great point where he said, hey, he's a vet. That's why we went out and got him. It's for things like this. And they trust him to have the right mental makeup, to handle it, to be a veteran, to be a leader, to be unfazed, unflappable in there. And I tend to agree. We did a whole video about it yesterday. Arkansas needs Jonas Adu's best to beat to beat his former team. I believe that. And so I think it's an important matchup. Now, who the heck is going to guard Chaz Lanier? This dude is good. If you haven't watched him play, boy, he looks like an NBA wing. He really does. 6'5", 6'6", about 210 pounds, strong physical kid, just a knockdown shooter, really good shooter, not a very good defender. So to me, it comes down to, can you contain him on the 3-point line? And then if he's scoring, can whoever he's guarding score just as much and cancel it out? That'll be something, because if there's a soft spot on that defense on the perimeter, he's going to be one of them. So we'll see about that. I would give DJ Wagner, I think, the first nod against him. I think DJ has been Arkansas's best perimeter defender. He's gone through an SEC slate before. He's got, I think, the strength and physicality to handle that matchup. I think John L. Davis could do a pretty good job there too, honestly, with his length. He's a big dude too. But I would probably start, if it was me, DJ Wagner there. Now, he didn't play well at Tennessee last year. DJ didn't. Now, he was dealing with that ankle injury. But he just went – Kentucky won that game, but he went 1 of 6 from the floor. He fouled out. Wasn't his best performance, so I'm sure he's going to be motivated to have a better showing there in Knoxville. Like I said, I think Arkansas really needs Nelly Davis. I get the sense that he's going to play just based on what we've heard. How good is he going to be? I don't know. But they're going to need him in this one, and I think he needs to win the matchup with Jemai Meshack, who's probably going to be the starting wing. Those two guys are about the same size. Now, here's the thing. Meshack, not a big-time scorer. He has his moments, has his games, but he's really known as a lockdown wing defender. He's probably going to draw John L. Davis or Carter, whichever guy's in there, make him work. Run him off screens, get some threes up. I think that Arkansas needs to win that matchup on the wing. I mentioned it earlier. John L. Davis has played against some of these guys from Tennessee before. Meshack's one of them. Zakai Ziegler's another one. They've got some continuity on that roster. It was just 2 years ago when John L. Davis played at FAU against Tennessee and beat them in the Sweet 16. Now, Nelly went for 15 points and 6 boards in that game. Pretty solid stat line. I would take 15 and 6 from Nelly in this game. Here's the thing, though. He only went 3 of 9 shooting. So it's not like he was that efficient, but he was aggressive. He got to the free throw line 10 times. He was getting to the rim, wasn't settling for jumpers, trying to make his mark somehow offensively. They knew that they needed him to do it, and he was drawing contact, and he was getting to the rack and getting to the free throw line. He went 9 of 10 from the charity stripe. I would love to see that guy because I think that he's been a little bit more aggressive in hunting his three. He's been out with that wrist. How comfortable is he going to be with that shot? I don't know, but I do know that John L. Davis at his best is a big-time playmaker and a big-time scoring option in games like this because he finds a way. In his in-between game and around the rim, he's crafty, he's smart. I would love to see John L. Davis be aggressive and start getting to the charity stripe. Get some easy ones around the rim, get some free throws, let that open things up elsewhere. I hope that we see an aggressive version of him in this game. Time will tell. Adu Thero, I think, is the most fascinating X factor here for Arkansas. I loved, again, I can't believe I keep saying this. I love what Kenny Payne said. I do. I think they've got the right idea here because one of the questions he was asked was, well, Tennessee is going to start a couple 6'10" guys in the post. How happy are you with Jonas and Trevin, being able to play together, whatever? Do you consider making some lineup changes because of their size? And it was pretty much like, no. We have Adu Thero playing at the 4 who might be a little undersized, but he's just as strong as any forward in the SEC. He's more athletic than anybody. He's got perimeter skills, which makes him a matchup problem. The whole point is Arkansas feels like they are good enough to where teams need to match up to them. They don't have to match up to their opponents. I think that's really important. Thero here, again, I think he's an X factor because I'm not certain this is a great defensive matchup for Igor Milicic. And I think on the flip side, he's a really good player, but I think I'm not worried about Adu Thero guarding him at all. So I wonder what that's going to look like. Can they get to this point where it forces Rick Barnes to play maybe a little bit smaller than he wants to? Do they go with Darlin Stone Dubar, who, if you guys follow portal season, you remember him from Hofstra, the 6'8" kid. It hasn't clicked for him yet, but we know that he's a good player, a good shooter, but deeper in their rotation and a guy that hasn't been playing a ton for him. Do they have to go that route and play a little bit smaller? Do they have to get a little bit more athletic with a guy like Phillips, who's younger? Or can Igor Milicic, who's been an important piece for him, I think he leads them in rebounding, averaging double figures. Can he hold up on that end? I think it's going to be another, X factor kind of matchup there. And then how ready are the freshmen for Arkansas? It's baptism by fire. We talked about that too. Boogie's got the toughest assignment he's going to get all year. But are Carter Knox and Billy Richmond ready for a game like this, an environment like this, against a team like this, to give you some big-time contributions? This is going to be a fun game. I can't wait for it. I'm interested to see what the opening line comes out. I went and looked at KenPom, and it had Tennessee favored by 12. That's way too much. I don't think it's going to be that much when the lines are set, but I think it's going to come down to the last couple of minutes. I really do. Going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait for it. But that does it for the preview. A little bit of a long one. I had a lot to say about this game. I was looking forward to it, but we're going to be back in the morning. Give you a few hours before the game to check a little bit of something out. We got some quick hits for you. We're going to hear from Rick Barnes about this game and what he's seeing from Arkansas. And then we'll do some quick SEC pick'ems because there's some other really, really good games across the league. And it's finally here. I'm excited. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, it's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the pod at the Palace. We'll catch you guys in the morning. Everybody have a good one.